What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. This is Corey J from Corey J's Boutique, and today I'm coming to you all with an updated video on how I pluck and make baby hairs on my frontal. I'm super excited about it, so if you're interested in learning, first subscribe and then continue watching right now. So the first step to my new method is obviously spraying water on my frontal. The second step that you're going to see me do is part it. I'm parting it where I know my client wants her part to be, so that when I do pluck, I prevent plucking the part and making it look crazy at the end. Now what you'll see me doing right here is I'm going through before I start plucking, and I'm taking out what is going to be used for baby hairs. I'm doing that so that at the end we don't have all of these like random little pieces that, you know, we have to force to serve as baby hairs, and we've actually left some baby hairs out. So I'm going to take those and clip them away so that I can go ahead and start my process of plucking. So when you pluck, you really want to start at the very root, and you want to pull back hard on that hair to make sure that each of those pieces are actually coming out. What you don't want to do is you don't want to just randomly pluck, because honestly, that's not taking out any hair. It's really just breaking the hair off and making your frontal really nasty looking, and it's still not taking out any of the hair. So just make sure that when you are plucking, this is literally the number one thing to do. Make sure your hair is wet, and also make sure that you are actually going from the net of that hair and pulling back. Don't just randomly pluck everywhere. I'm not saying to stay in one spot for too long, but I am saying to make sure that you're actually grabbing hair and you're actually plucking it out versus just breaking off pieces of hair and not really actually plucking anything. It's actually going to save you time in the long run, and it's just going to make for a better looking frontal altogether. So to kind of explain what I'm doing here is I want to make sure that I don't have a random, just like a straight line after what I've plucked in the front. So after I pluck the front of the hair right behind the baby hairs that I left clipped so that we didn't pluck them out, I take a piece and I start to pluck it from the back end. This is to prevent having just like plucked hair and then a straight line where you can tell, okay, this needs to be plucked. You really want your hairline to fade back like something very natural. You want it to go from being thin to, you know, a little less thin to a little less thin, and then to, you know, your regular head of hair. And so in order to do that, you really need to make sure that you pluck that back end as well. Okay, so basically, once I have plucked my hair to the density that I desire, I go ahead and I take my baby hairs that I once left out, I push those back and I start to pluck them. And I hope you can see the difference as I am plucking in the hairline. You know, it just gives it a more natural look to pluck the very front. It prevents it from having this straight across, very uniform, square bob ass look. Honestly, I don't even know how to say that in a professional way. It just keeps it from looking stupid, to be honest. So, excuse me, I just take and I pluck the very front hairs out very randomly, and this is just to create a more natural looking hairline, so it's just not straight across like you just went to the barbershop and got you a fresh ass lining. Yeah, you don't want it to look like that at all, sis. That we're gonna leave that for the dudes. So that's the reason why I'm doing that. Okay, so moving right along to the other side, we gonna repeat the same steps. We're gonna first separate the baby hairs out. We're gonna second spray the hair to make it easier to pluck. We're gonna pluck, making sure we go from the very root so that we can snatch out those hairs and not just break off. And I know this is sped up, but please understand and pay attention to how this hair is coming out. You can actually see the hair being bunched up at a certain point on the wig, but this hair is actually coming out literally from the lace. I'm not just randomly plucking and I won't say random, I'll say wildly plucking. I'm definitely plucking randomly, but not wildly. You don't want to pluck wildly because you want to break off that hair, as I mentioned before. So I just want you all to pay attention to how this wig starts to open up as I'm actually plucking it. You can literally see it go from being so thick and closed to, okay, it's starting to open up. Okay, I can kind of see through it a little more and a little more and a little more. And then we're just going to repeat the step, putting those baby hairs back, plucking the very tip of that hairline to make it look more natural. Like I said, we don't want no boyfriend cuts over here. So, yep. One thing that I do want to mention, make sure that when you are plucking at the very root, that you're not being like me. I'm heavy-handed as hell, and I realized that I had plucked a little bit of the actual lace, which made a hole in the lace. That can ruin your whole frontal, and frontals are very expensive and a lot of work. So I would suggest that when you're doing it, take your time, be gentle, and make sure you're paying attention so that you don't end up with a bunch of holes in your frontal, because that would be very tragic and frustrating. Okay, so this is the final look, a very natural, very, very natural looking hairline, something that's just like, okay, not too thin, not too thick, and I was really satisfied with this hairline. So now I'm going to show you all how I go in and I do my baby hairs. So the first thing I'm going to do is part out that thin layer of baby hairs so that I can go ahead and cut it. Just make sure your baby hairs are the right density, because having them too thin or too thick can completely ruin your look, and I've learned that the hard way, walking around looking stupid. So just make sure they're like the right amount, and I don't know how to measure that other than just showing you how much I took out from my baby hairs. When you cut, pay attention to the motion that I'm doing. I'm literally just razoring down the hair. I never even actually closed the scissors. I just more so use them as a guide to kind of razor down the hair. And then I'm going to use some mousse to kind of start to formulate the baby hairs. And then I go in with my Got2b glue gel to actually slick them and lay them down, because mousse while mousse allows you to maneuver them very well, they don't stick well. So use the mousse first so that you can maneuver the baby hairs, and then actually plaster them down with the Got2b glue gel or the gel of your choice. That and Eco Style works well for me personally. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the same exact thing for the other side. First, parting the baby hairs, then cutting them in a razoring motion, pretty short as well. One thing I think that I mess up on sometimes is making my baby hairs too long, so I want to stress to make sure that you make them short. The they're supposed to reflect real baby hair. And real baby hair is not the swoop down the face edges that we be trying to make on these frontals now. It's the real short baby hair. So make sure you make them bitches short. Okay, so here is the finished result. I'm so proud of myself. I feel like this is just so much growth from what I was doing before. Something I taught myself, some new techniques. So I hope I was able to teach you all some stuff. I really appreciate you watching. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe and be on the lookout for our next video.